Councilor Wallace.
Here.
Vice President Rivera.
Oh, brother.
President.
Here. Okay, item 2, additions or deletions to the agenda. Okay. And there's none. Item 3, public comments. At this time, any person may address the board on any subject within the district's jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. However, any non-agenda matter will be referred to staff for report and/or action at a subsequent board meeting, and no action can be taken on any such item discussed unless the action has been authorized under 54954.2B of the Government Code. Any person may also address the board on any agenda matter at the time that matter is discussed prior to board consideration and action. Speakers are requested to limit comments to 5 minutes. At this time, we'll open the floor to public comments. Presentations, director's comments, and we'll start with Director Spore.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody here and our attorney. Good to see you, Scott. And it's been a good week. We'd like to see a little bit more rain. Some of those clouds are just kind of teasing us since we're having this drought of water in Northern California. So I also was walking through the office and I saw the mailing, all the envelopes. So I was asking Ozad about how much money could we save if we did more mailing of our billing statements. So I'll be requesting a policy committee meeting so we can go over some of those numbers, because I'm doing more e-commerce in my own personal business.
Here, I just got back from the conference, learned a lot of things, and they put a lot of emphasis on you folks. Listen to what you have to say, and one thing I did learn, you do not have to give your name when you speak. I did not know that, but they told us that. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. And I attended a couple of meetings since our last board meeting. I went to the AMEC meeting and the school board meeting. I'll start with the school board meeting. There was discussion there about the skate park, and the school district, their desire is to close the skate park because of the liability issues, but they are talking with us, and if I'm not mistaken, Steve's not here this evening, but I do believe that Steve has talked with them to have us pay continue to pay the insurance until we can find a future permanent home for the skate park. So we're working on it right now. And as you all know, the skate park was built on school district property, and so therefore it's their property. They are liable, so we had to make sure that they're not going to be held for any liability if something happens there. So, I believe our insurance is all up to date on that, correct? Is that? Okay, so anyhow, right now, Steve and Mr. Weinstein are working together on relocating the skate park to a new location, and the school district's desire is to help us relocate that park as well. So we're working together on that. And I went to the ABEC meeting last night, and again, it doesn't look good. Water supplies are getting a little dire up there. We're still looking at 35% of our allotment coming up for the year, and they're still making their preparations for a dry year. They have shut their wells off to their water banks because they don't have any available water to put in there. I don't know if that includes that ultimately, and they might be releasing that later. But as of right now, they haven't publicly have not mentioned anything as far as cutting back on any water supplies. But the concern is for the past few months that it's been at that 35%, and usually, as you know through experience, that number bobs up and down. 35.
Right.
Actually, I've never seen it at 35%. It's always been about 42%, 48%, 49%. And then at the last minute, we get the midnight reprieve, that, oh, we found some more water, and then, we get 60% of our allotment.
Well, they would be trying to buy water and
And they're looking for it.
but what's the price tag? Do they have any idea what they would have to pay for extra water to the Delta?
At this time, no, they're not giving any prices, but they did in their last meeting when they talked about the fact that they had the, dealing with acting as a broker by having the developer pay a fee, and then they go looking for the water, and the developer agreed to pay the going rate. Then, if it turns out that they find water at, $800 an acre foot or $1,000 an acre foot, then, if they want it for that price, they'll pay it so they can build their development. That water
I
there.
understand that water is clean enough to drink.
Yes, it is.
That's what I've heard.
It is.
So with all this going on with a shortage of water, why doesn't the state open its eyes and see what happens in the rest of the country and make a change in the law so we can use that water? To either recharge the wells, bank it, or plug it into the system that we can use.
You've got your biggest advocate in the world for that right here. I mean, I have been hoping that the state would do this, and believe it or not, when you go and their attitude about recycled water is light years ahead of Southern California. They use it almost everywhere down up there, and down here they got so many restrictions on it that they won't let us use it. And I agree. Maybe not using it for drinking, but take away the red tape and the regulations to make it more readily available for use for irrigation, to replace, instead of watering your grass and everything with potable drinking water, use the recycled water for that, and then that's a conservation measure right there. And that is the main thing that we've got going for our treatment plant, is it's always been a conservation tool to where we can take the water from that plant and shut the potable water off at Glendower Park, shut the potable water off at Rosamond Hills, at United Street Park, at the different school sites.
Yeah, but you're still gonna have way more water.
As the community grows, you get more recycled water, because you get more influent into your plant. So the idea is that to get a one-for-one trade-off, to where instead of watering the lawns for the parks and schools with potable drinking water, you can water them with recycled water. And then therefore you turn around and you keep that water in the ground, and the community can actually grow, and we don't have to go out and look for new water to purchase water or to drill another well. And
Still, it's gonna cost you. Face the little towns, as they come down, they drew water out of the river, they used it, they cleaned the sewage water, put it back in the river, next town drew it out, all the way down to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
They've been doing that since the 60s.
Well,
The state's gotta wake up.
I know. I mean, a presentation analogy that can make this water in a very short time ready to drink. And so, it's just something that, but unfortunately,
Well, you gotta keep on pounding the
you
state.
got to keep pounding and hope that you get some people up there that will just say, yeah, okay, we get it, and go for it.
Got a little bit of a pride fever, and it's a gimme, there's no ifs and ands about it. And you're saying that the state health department is going to hold up you using that to knock down a known health hazard for no real reason. You're saying they're doing that and you can't fast track it
No,
through?
you can water, okay? And to spread it, now I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, but this is how it works. If you go out and get a permit to put it on a park site, okay? But you don't get a permit for the water to get on the sidewalks, or to get on the park benches, or to even get on the trees. If you spray the trees, you spray the sidewalk, you spray the park benches with that water you're permitted to put on the grass, you're in violation of your Title 22 regulations. And it's the same thing. If we want to take that water out there and spread it out there for dust control, which would be a great idea, you can't do that until you apply to the state and say, we're going to spread this recycled water all over here. Then they got to apply for the permits and get everything done. Then they can go ahead and take the water out there and spread it, as long as the health department in the state says, gives you the thumbs up.
That's fine, but you can fast track that.
We were looking for at that time an engineering position. And what has happened is that the GM and staff, they have the engineering slash GIS CAD technician. What that's going to allow us to do is get the same work accomplished without having to pull engineer. It's also going to create the same. Yeah, that's something that Jimmy before. That's what came up in the personnel. And I don't know if you have a salary schedule that's listed here, but it gives one of the people in the district here an opportunity to advance. And also it's going to create a savings in the person that's selected for the position as well. We'll prepare for it. He's also currently taking additional classes of more prevention in that particular role. So that's something that we're going to create for that. Also, so this is how
Yes, sir. And like I said, that is on the agenda, so there'll be further discussion on that as well. And Finance Committee.
That's the same thing we met on the lighting, and that's an agenda item that we're going to discuss. But again, we're just looking at the numbers and seeing what kind of savings we'll offer to the district overall.
All right, then item 5, informational items, Public Works Superintendent, Mr. Houghton, update on Public Works projects.
Well, we talked with the engineer and CDPH that they received the bioethane report from Dr. Moreland, and we're waiting back for comments on that. We indicated that we'll be taking our Title 22 samples and submitting the results on September 9th. And the report of waste discharge has been completed. Once we get the Title 22 reports, we'll submit the Title 22, and there'll be a Form 200 that the district will need to sign. There'll be a fee for that for the permitting. I don't have the numbers on the fees yet. Should have some numbers by the end of the week. Once we get the fees paid, Title 22 and waste discharge report filled up or sent to Reclaimed Water Quality Control Board, we're looking at between 60 and 120 days for our permit.
But look at what they're doing. I don't even know. I wouldn't even try to calculate $700,000 a day times how long. And this is a conversation I had with one of the lead engineers. He says, they told us we can't do it, and they're going to do it.
And the recharge rules are quite different, like has been mentioned throughout the state of California. I was talking to one engineer from a water company towards the coast, the central coast of California, and they took their tertiary water and they could put it in a big pond, and it was like a sand pit, and it went directly into the aquifer. I asked the health department if that'd be allowable here, and I kind of got well, no. And I went down to Rancho Cucamonga to their tertiary treatment plant, and they have a gravel pit where they recharge, and they capture all the water, the thunderstorms in the canyon right above there, and they kind of meter that water. And so they funnel that rainwater right into their recharge area, and it's 1-to-4, it's 1/5 is tertiary water is allowed to be recharged into the aquifer. So our regulations down here are much more stringent, and it needs to change, but right now it hasn't, they're not moving much on the recharge. They're really afraid of the nitrification, the nitrates getting into the groundwater.
So I'm just going to present a quick overview of activities pertinent to July 2013 with respect to many of the issues that have been discussed today. Just a quick update on the arsenic grant. We have submitted the reimbursement request for the initial amount that would reimburse the district for any money spent on the grant prior to the grant submittal in 2010. So we're back charging all the way to 2008 to July 2013. So we've submitted that reimbursement request, and we submitted as well the backup that was provided by our CSD staff. And so the state sits on reviewing that reimbursement request for disbursement back to the district. So as far as we're concerned, it's in good state, and we're just waiting to hear back from the state. Okay. With the recycled water master plan update. Right now, we're actually in the development process of the project alternatives that we're looking at for use of this water that's been, that's going to be at some point coming out of the wastewater treatment plant. So part of the recycled water master plan evaluates those alternatives and those potential customers who might be able to use any recycled water supplies that can be generated by the district, including a lot of these alternatives that were discussed today, including parks, school districts. One of our alternatives as well is to blend supplies over at the Rosamond High School well pump into one of the existing reservoirs, blend that supply, and then utilize that for irrigation as well. So I think the difference is here that we are getting buy-off of these project concepts from the state. So all of these ideas that are going to be presented in the master plan will be essentially reviewed by the state to determine whether or not those are feasible options. And once they've approved the master plan, that will qualify the district for funding for the construction of this infrastructure that will lead from the wastewater treatment plant over to the locations where it can be used. So we're in the process of doing that. We're also looking at the environmental impacts of developing that infrastructure. So that's a component of the master plan. And so all of that is coming together, and we anticipate having a draft report to the district sometime in late September, early October. With respect to the grant support task that we have with the Rosamond Community Services District, we also, a few months ago, I think a month ago, the district was reviewed. There was a sanitary survey that was completed by the Department of Public Health. There were some deficiencies that were identified in some of the infrastructure within the district. And so what we did, it was recommended by the state to submit a grant application. It wasn't a full-blown grant application, but it was a pre-grant application, a pre-application process, which essentially would take those infrastructure projects and put them on the priority listing for future funding. So that would offset any capital that would be included in your budget, and that would be offset by future grant funding for the replacement of the deficient infrastructure. So that grant application, the pre-grant application, was submitted in late July.
MKT Energy Solutions in the amount of $39,347.65 for the retrofit of interior fluorescents to LED. This was, we met on our engineering committee, and Director Blooming isn't here this evening. And Steve went over the cost factor and return on this paying for itself, and I believe it was on a 5-year period that this would actually pay for itself. And we would get significant energy savings converting over to LED lighting from the current fluorescent lighting that we have now. But I would, this is a great idea, and I think it's a sound financial idea as far as long-term energy costs for this agency. I would like to ask that it be tabled, and the reason for that is that I did not ask Steve at the time when we had our meeting if we had other bids on this as well.
That's what I wanted to know, if we have another bid.
We have, for this amount of money, that was my question.
Yeah, and that's what and so until Steve is here, we can talk to him and make sure that we've got other bids on this as well. Like I say, so that's why I would like to ask that this be tabled until our next meeting where we can get those questions answered. And Steve's not here this evening to answer them, so I'd like to.
And I'd like to see, since I'm not in the I'd like to see it go out to bid, but I'd also like to see what the cost per unit for replacement is. How many, are we gonna do everything in here? Is this gonna be changed as far as
It sounded like with the count of the lights that they were talking about, it's going to be basically doing all the lights here in the administration building. So they're going to change out all our high energy Progressive, like what we're using now, including the low cost of Illinois. And, but I want to see the, I'm sure that Steve is shopping this around, and I would like to see the other quotes that we got on this project as well.
Me too. I agree.
So,
Make a motion to table, action item A, for lack of, for needed more information.
yes. Do I have a second? A motion was made by Director Skor, second by Director Wallace to table item A until our next board meeting, and that way the staff can bring back more information to the board for the other benefits for them as well. So, and plus, it's a lower hourly rate that we're paying, and we can get the same work done.
Which step would he start at?
I'm not sure what step he has in plan to be starting.
I'm not sure.
With the new job, I would assume step one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where he's planning on moving, starting him at. That is, we can, this is something we can also table if you wish, if you want to get more clarification from our GM, we can do that as well. I don't see where it would be that big of a deal, waiting until the next regular board meeting.
When would this technician need to be in place? Is there any urgency then?
I think a lot of the stuff that, between now and the next board meeting, I'm sure if we needed him to do some of this stuff, he could do it, now. But he's already here, he's already working here, so it would be just a matter of, and we need you to put on another hat for a couple of weeks, and then, when Steve gets here, you can clear up any questions you have, and then we can go ahead and move forward with that.
Yeah, I'd like to know what step he'd be starting at.
Yeah, but one thing is, it looks like we're definitely not gonna have to go out and hire an outside engineer. That'll be a big savings.
So, and because that question can't be answered, I'd like to make a motion to table action item B to the next board.
Do I have a second? Okay, motion by Director Skor, second by Director Wallace to table action item B until our next regular board meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item 7, consent calendar. And before we go into the consent calendar, I'll get on the AP list. I got a question for you, John. I don't know if you can answer this one or not, but on Songali Landscaping, I see that we have them down here for $7,500. And now I know that the reason we didn't renew the contract is because we were negotiating the return of the school district back, return of United Street Park back to the school district. And he was no longer gonna have to do the landscaping and upkeep in that park. So,
Yeah, I believe Steve has talked to him, and there's a reimbursement coming back.
okay, I would like to pull this particular invoice to Songali Landscape, and, because I know that, we shouldn't be paying, until we find out what's going on with that, I don't wanna pay the $7,500, because he's not doing the work that the original contract